I wasn't invited to my own sister's wedding even after paying for it. She said I didn't fit the vibe, but the smile vanished from her face when the venue canceled everything at the last minute and she realized this. I still remember the exact moment I found out. It wasn't through a heartfelt conversation, a mistake in the mail, or even a passing mention. No, I discovered I wasn't invited to my own sister's wedding the way someone finds out about a party they were never meant to know about. Through a social media post. Picture. A beautifully designed invitation card, embossed with gold lettering, delicately placed atop a white satin fabric. The caption read, "The countdown begins. Can't wait to celebrate with all my loved ones on the most special day of my life." All her loved ones, but not me. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe my invitation was still in the mail. Maybe she just hadn't gotten around to telling me in person. I had, after all, spent the last 6 months bending over backward to make sure she had the wedding of her dreams. I paid for the venue deposit when she and her fiancé were short on cash. I covered the catering advance when my parents hesitated. I even gave her money for a dress that, ironically, she hadn't even shown me yet. I scrolled through the comments under the post, my stomach twisting. Friends, relatives, colleagues. Everyone was gushing about how excited they were to be part of the big day. Someone even joked about how exclusive the guest list must be. Exclusive. That's when the sick feeling started to creep in. I sent her a message. Nothing dramatic. Just a simple, "Hey, I saw the post. I never got my invite. Did it get lost?" I stared at my phone, waiting for the 3 little dots to appear. They didn't. An hour passed. Then 2. By the time the sun set, I had convinced myself I was overreacting. Maybe she was busy. Maybe she just forgot to reply. And then, at 10:34 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Sister, hey, I was going to talk to you about this. I hope you understand, but we had to make some tough choices with the guest list. It's a very curated event, you know? We had to keep it elegant. No offense, but you don't really fit the vibe. I know you'll be happy for me from afar though. Love you. Curated event. Don't fit the vibe. Happy from afar." I read the message 3 times before it really sank in. I wasn't just forgotten. I was intentionally left out. And I knew exactly why. I wasn't like my sister's friends, with their polished nails, expensive suits, and artificial laughs that filled high-end cocktail parties. I didn't work in an office with a shiny title or talk about investments over brunch. I owned an auto repair shop, a successful one, the kind that made very good money, especially since I specialized in luxury vehicles. But that didn't matter to my family. To them, I wasn't a businessman. I was just a grease-stained mechanic. A guy who always smelled like gasoline, whose hands were permanently rough from years of hard work. My sister had always looked down on me for that. She thought real success meant sitting in an air-conditioned office, wearing a suit, running a respectable business, not running a garage no matter how much money it made. She never said it outright, but I saw it in her eyes every time I showed up to family dinners in my work clothes. The slight wrinkle of her nose when I walked in, the way she introduced me to her friends with a quick, dismissive, "Oh, my brother just runs some car shop," like I was an embarrassment. And now, after everything I had done for her, she had curated me out of her perfect little wedding. I had financed the wedding, and somehow I wasn't good enough to attend it. I should have seen it coming. It wasn't the first time my family had made me feel like an outsider. The signs had been there for years. Small jabs at family dinners, dismissive comments about my business, the way my parents beamed with pride when my sister got promoted at her marketing firm but barely acknowledged when I expanded my shop. But no matter how they treated me, I never said no when they needed me. When my sister wanted a lavish wedding but couldn't afford it, I was the one who stepped in. I covered the venue deposit, the catering advance, even part of her wedding dress, and I never asked for anything in return. "You know how expensive weddings are," she had whined one night over dinner at my parents' house, swirling her wine glass dramatically. "If you want something nice, you have to pay for it," I had replied, half joking. "Easy for you to say," she had huffed. "You don't have student loans. You don't have to keep up a professional appearance. You wear the same boots every day." That was my sister in a nutshell. She equated success with appearances. She never cared that I built my business from the ground up, that I worked 60-hour weeks to make sure my employees had stable jobs, that I earned every damn dollar I had. To her, I was just the guy with oil-stained hands and working-class problems. But I still helped. When she and her fiancé came up short, I wired the money without hesitation. I told myself it was for family, that I wasn't doing it for recognition. Yet here I was, not even worthy of an invitation. The night I read her message, I didn't sleep. I kept going over every moment of the past few months, trying to pinpoint when exactly she decided I wasn't good enough to be seen at her wedding. Was it when I showed up to a family gathering straight from the shop, still in my uniform? Was it when she introduced me to her fancy friends as my brother? He works with cars. Like I was some random guy changing tires on the street? Or had she always thought of me this way? The next morning, I drove to my parents' house. I didn't announce myself. I wanted to hear what they'd say when they weren't expecting me. As soon as I stepped inside, I heard my mother's voice from the kitchen. "Well, you know how he is," she was saying, her tone laced with the same quiet disappointment I had grown used to. "I just don't want him embarrassing me," my sister replied. "It's going to be a sophisticated event. I can't have him showing up looking like he just crawled out from under a car." I clenched my jaw. "He's family," my dad mumbled, but his voice lacked conviction. "Exactly. And he should understand that this isn't about him," my sister snapped. "I don't need him there making people uncomfortable. He doesn't belong in that kind of setting." I had heard enough. I pushed the door open, stepping into the kitchen. My sister went pale when she saw me, my mother quickly busying herself with stirring something that didn't need stirring. "So that's how you see me?" I asked, my voice calm. My sister hesitated before straightening her shoulders. "Don't take it personally. It's just not your kind of crowd." "My kind of crowd?" I echoed, crossing my arms. "Come on, you know what I mean," she huffed. "Everyone there is from the corporate world, lawyers, executives, people who actually network. You don't have anything in common with them, right? Because I don't sit in an office and push paper all day. I must be too dumb to hold a conversation." "I never said that," she said quickly, but her face gave her away. My mother sighed. "Sweetheart, it's just a different kind of event. You have to admit you do come off a little rough sometimes. You're always in those work clothes and you don't carry yourself the way her guests do." "I own a business," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I make more money than half of those sophisticated people you're inviting. But because I don't wear a suit every day, I'm not good enough." My sister groaned. "It's not about money. It's about image. Look, you helped a lot with the wedding, and I appreciate it. But this is my day. I need everything to be perfect. I just don't think you'd fit in." There it was. The truth. It didn't matter that I had covered her bills, that I had bailed her out countless times when she overspent, that I had done more for this family than anyone else. To them, I would always be the dirty mechanic. I exhaled slowly, nodding. "Got it." "Oh, don't be like that," my mother interjected. "We'll have a nice family dinner after the honeymoon. Just us. That'll be more your style." I smiled, but it wasn't out of kindness. "You're right," I said, reaching for my car keys. "That would be more my style. Because in my world, when someone helps you, you don't turn around and treat them like garbage." I walked out before they could say another word. As I drove back to my shop, my phone buzzed with a text from my sister. "Sister, don't make this a big deal, okay? You know I love you. Hope you can still help with the final payment for the cake. It's due Friday. XO." I laughed. I laughed so hard I had to pull over. She really thought I was still going to pay. She thought I would swallow my pride like I always did. She had no idea that I was done. By the time I pulled into my shop, I had already made my decision. For years, I had been the family's safety net, the one they turned to when things got tough, the one who always said yes no matter how much it cost me. I had convinced myself it was my duty, that it was what family did. But this was the last straw. My sister didn't just take my money. She took it while looking down on me. She happily accepted every check, every transfer, every single dollar I handed her. But when it came time to acknowledge me in front of her fancy friends, I suddenly wasn't good enough. And yet, she still had the audacity to text me about paying for her wedding cake like nothing had happened. I had been played for a fool. Not anymore. I texted her back. Sorry, I wouldn't want to embarrass you by being associated with your wedding. I'm sure you'll figure it out without me. Good luck. No emojis. No fake kindness. Just a clear message. Not even 5 minutes passed before she called. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Then my mother. Then my father. By the time I closed up shop that night, I had 12 missed calls. The next morning, I woke up to a series of frantic texts. Sister, what do you mean you're not paying? The cake is already ordered. Sister, you can't just back out. We're counting on you. Mom, sweetheart, don't be spiteful. It's just a misunderstanding. Let's talk. Dad, we raised you better than this. I stared at my phone, shaking my head. Not a single one of them apologized. Not one, I'm sorry we hurt you. Just expectations. Just the assumption that I would keep playing my role. I called my sister. She picked up on the first ring. Oh my God. Finally. Listen, I don't know what's gotten into you, but you're acting crazy. You already agreed to pay, so I changed my mind. I cut in. Silence. What? I changed my mind? I repeated slowly, letting it sink in. I'm not paying another dime. You'll have to figure it out yourself. Are you serious right now? She screeched. You're really going to betray me like this? I laughed. Screw you over? You mean like how you conveniently forgot to invite me because I don't fit the vibe of your wedding? Or how you and Mom were talking about me like I was some embarrassment? That kind of screwing over? She huffed. Oh my God. It's not the same thing. That was about appearances. I didn't mean it in a bad way. But this is actual money, real responsibility, and it's not my problem, I said calmly. You didn't want me at your wedding? Fine. But you don't get to take my money while pretending I don't exist. You made it clear I don't belong, so I'm acting accordingly. Oh, don't be so dramatic, she snapped. You're just mad because you didn't get an invite. Grow up. I exhaled through my nose, keeping my temper in check. You know what's funny? I said. You think I'm upset about the invitation. That's not it. It's the fact that you used me, that you treated me like an ATM and still had the nerve to look down on me. That's what pisses me off. Oh, please, she scoffed. You have plenty of money. You wouldn't even miss it. And there it was. It wasn't gratitude. It wasn't even entitlement anymore. It was pure, blatant greed. You're right, I said, my voice colder now. I have plenty of money, and none of it is going to you ever again. Wait, she started, but I hung up. This time I was done. I didn't hear from her again for the rest of the week. But my parents, they wouldn't let it go. By Saturday, I was getting guilt-tripped from every angle. Your sister is under so much stress, my mom whined. Can't you just do this one thing? It's already planned, my dad added. What's a couple of thousand to you? Family helps family, my mother kept repeating, as if that was supposed to mean something. But I had heard enough. So I finally said it. Family helps family? Funny, I don't remember any of you helping me when I was starting my business, or when I was working 16-hour days to make sure I could afford everything on my own, or when I paid for half of her wedding and still got treated like dirt. Silence. You guys can figure this out, I finished. I'm out. I hung up and blocked their numbers. Let them squirm. I didn't expect silence. Not from my sister. Not from my parents. Not from anyone in my family who had spent years treating me like their personal ATM. I expected calls. Begging. Maybe even some thinly veiled threats disguised as, you'll regret this, or you're being selfish. But for 2 whole days, my phone stayed silent. And that's when I knew. They weren't ignoring me out of anger. They were scrambling, trying to figure out how to replace the money I had just ripped away from them, trying to undo the damage of assuming I would always be there, no matter how they treated me. And then, on the third day, my mother showed up at my shop. She didn't call first. She just walked in like she owned the place, her eyes darting around at the cars being worked on, at my employees moving efficiently from one task to the next. I wiped my hands on a rag and crossed my arms. "Something wrong. We need to talk," she said, her voice tight. I gestured to the office. "By all means." She walked inside, sat down in the chair across from my desk, and folded her hands in her lap. She looked uncomfortable, like she didn't belong here, like she'd rather be anywhere else. I took my time sitting down. I wanted her to feel that discomfort. "Your sister is in trouble," she finally said. I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, don't act like you don't know." "I don't," I said, leaning back. "But I have a feeling you're going to tell me." She exhaled sharply, as if she was the one who had a right to be frustrated. "The bakery won't release the wedding cake unless they get the rest of the payment. The venue is threatening to cancel the reception unless she settles the remaining balance. And she still hasn't finished paying the florist." I stayed quiet. "The wedding is in 2 weeks, and she doesn't have the money," my mother pressed. "She can't cover all this on her own." "That's unfortunate," I said. She blinked at me, as if she couldn't believe I wasn't leaping to fix it. "You have the money," she said carefully, like she was speaking to a child. "You could help her, and you wouldn't even feel it." I gave her a slow smile. "And yet, here we are." Her nostrils flared. "Stop being petty. You agreed to pay, and she planned everything around that agreement. You can't just pull out at the last second." I tilted my head. "You mean like how she planned her guest list without me? Funny how that works. This isn't the same thing." "Sure it is," I said. "She made a choice. I made mine. She wanted a wedding without me in it? Great. That means she doesn't need my money either." "Oh, for God's sake," my mother muttered, rubbing her temples. I waited for her to try something new, to guilt me, to remind me that family helps family, that I shouldn't hold grudges, that this isn't how I was raised. Instead, she let out a slow breath and sat up straighter. "If you don't help her, she's going to have to downgrade everything. She'll be humiliated. People will talk." I laughed. "Now we're getting to the real problem." Her face darkened. "It's not just about appearances," she said stiffly. "She deserves a beautiful wedding. She deserves exactly what she can afford," I corrected. "And clearly, that's not the wedding she planned." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "So that's it? You're just going to sit here and let your sister suffer?" "She's not suffering," I said flatly. "She's getting a reality check. One that's long overdue." My mother stared at me for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she stood up, smoothed her blouse, and adjusted the strap of her purse. "You'll regret this," she said simply. I shrugged. "Maybe." She left without another word, and I felt nothing but relief. Over the next few days, the cracks in my sister's perfect wedding plans started to show. First, she posted a vague status on Facebook. "It's so hard when people you count on let you down. But I guess that's life, right?" I ignored it. Then, I got a call from a mutual cousin. "Dude, what's going on? Your sister's freaking out. She said you bailed on paying for the wedding." "That's correct," I said. "But why?" "Because she didn't invite me," I said simply. Silence. Then, "Oh, yeah. Okay, I get that." The next day, my sister texted me. "Sister, can we talk?" I waited an hour before replying. "Me? Talk about what?" "Sister, I don't want things to be like this between us. Can we meet for coffee?" I almost laughed. She didn't want things to be like this? The same sister who had deliberately excluded me from the most important day of her life because I didn't fit her image? No, she didn't want things to be like this because it was inconvenient for her. But I was curious, so I agreed. When I arrived at the coffee shop, she was already there, tapping her manicured nails against her cup. She gave me a hesitant smile. Hey, I said, sitting down. She sighed dramatically. "Look, I know you're upset." "I'm not upset," I interrupted. I just finally see things clearly. She frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means I get it now. I'm useful when you need something. But the second I become an inconvenience to your perfect little world, you toss me aside. That's not fair, she protested. Isn't it? I leaned back. You didn't think I was good enough to be at your wedding, but my money was good enough. You can't have it both ways. She pursed her lips. I just wanted everything to be perfect. And I didn't think you'd care. Well, now you know, I said. She hesitated. If I invite you now, will you help? I smiled. Then I stood up. Enjoy your wedding, sis, I said. But you'll have to figure it out without me. And I walked out. The morning of my sister's wedding, I woke up feeling light. No stress, no guilt, no obligations. For the first time in years, I wasn't burdened by their expectations. I had no reason to rush around fixing last-minute problems. No one was calling me to cover extra costs or begging me to step in and save the day. Because I wasn't invited. And because I had finally stopped caring. But apparently my family hadn't stopped caring about my money. At 11:27 a.m., I got the first call. Mom. I let it ring. At 11:42 a.m., my dad tried. Ignored. At 12:03 p.m., my phone lit up with a text from my cousin. Cousin. Bro. You're not gonna believe this. The venue just kicked them out. I stared at the screen. And then I laughed. The disaster. I had warned them. I had given them every chance to fix their mess. Instead, my sister assumed anyone would step in at the last second. But no one did. Without the final payment, the venue canceled. The staff literally locked the doors while the guests were arriving. People were standing outside in suits and cocktail dresses, confused, as the wedding planner scrambled to explain. And my sister? She was hysterical. The fancy 5-tier cake? Never delivered. The high-end floral arrangements? Canceled. The high-profile wedding she had bragged about for months? Gone. At 1:15 p.m., she finally called me. I picked up. What? I said, my voice flat. Are you happy now? She shrieked. I leaned back in my chair, amused. About what? You know exactly what, she snapped. The wedding is ruined. Oh, I said casually. Didn't have enough money? You knew we didn't have enough money, she screamed. You were supposed to help. You promised. I chuckled. No, you assumed. Silence. You let me fail, she finally said, her voice shaking. No, I corrected. You failed all on your own. And then, for the first time, she broke. I don't understand, she whispered. Why couldn't you just help? After everything we've been through, after everything I've done. Everything you've done? I repeated, my patience snapping. You mean like using me for years? Like taking my money without a second thought? Like treating me like garbage the second I wasn't useful to you? I didn't mean it like that, she muttered. You never do, I said coldly. That's the problem. Silence stretched between us. Then her voice wavered. So, this is it? You're really just gonna walk away? I already did, I said. You just didn't notice until now. And I hung up. The wedding was moved to a relative's backyard at the last second. No extravagant decorations. No 5-star catering. Just a last-minute setup with whatever they could throw together. I heard that my sister spent the entire night trying to hold back tears, too humiliated to even enjoy her own wedding. I didn't reach out. I didn't apologize. I didn't check in. I let them figure it out on their own for once. And for the first time in my life, I felt free. Final update. A year later. It took months before my parents finally accepted that I wasn't going to change my mind. At first, they tried guilt, then anger, then silence. Now they treat me carefully, like they finally understand that if they push too hard, I won't hesitate to walk away permanently. As for my sister, she never apologized, but she also never asked me for money again. I consider that a win. And me? I'm still running my business, still doing just fine. Only now every dollar I earn is mine.